today's episode, Almaty's province's contemporary capital, Zhetysu's literary history, rock art at Red Rock,
Salam, Privyet, and hello. I'm Dennis Keene, and today on Discovering Kazakhstan, we will be discovering Taldykorgan, the capital of Almaty province. A clean and charming city, just a short 3-hour drive from Almaty, Kazakhstan's largest city. Taldykorgan is the center of the historic region known as Zhetysu. Come along as we discover this town that locals lovingly call the Paris of the Steppe. I first fell in love with Taldykorgan a few months back when my friend Miras, a native Taldykorganian, invited me up to see his city. Ever hospitable, Miras invited me back to see his hometown again, and once more I was swept away by this well-kept riverfront town. One of the things I love about Taldykorgan every time I visit is the location, that here you guys are a city right on the beautiful Caracalla River.
Yeah, man, you're welcome. So Caracalla River is the biggest river in Taldykorgan, and it is one of the 7 rivers which makes up Zhetysu.
So Zhetysu, for those of us who don't speak Kazakh, actually means 7 rivers, and that's the name of this whole region, right?
Yeah,
so,
sure.
So you have these 7 big rivers that are flowing into Balkhash.
Yeah.
From the Jungar Alata Mountains, right?
Yeah, so Caracalla is like almost 400 kilometers.
So it's one of the longest ones. It's one of the biggest of all the Zhetysu rivers, so I bet you guys are pretty proud to have it here.
Yeah, you're right.
So Caracalla, what does that mean in Kazakh?
Caracalla means like a black willow.
In Kazakh, okay.
Yeah, and Taldykorgan means like a willow fortress in English.
The willowy fortress. That sounds epic.
Yeah.
And I guess it makes sense because actually most of Kazakhstan is the steppe, right? Where you don't have a lot of trees. But then here along the river, you have this rich vegetation. You have all these reeds and trees going along here. And I imagine if you're a Kazakh nomad and you were coming up to Taldykorgan and you saw this big willowy fortress, you would have said, I'm going to stay here.
Yeah, sure.
I'm going to make a city here. Well, it's a beautiful river you have. If it wasn't freezing cold, I'd say we should go for a swim.
This place were opened in 2016 for 25 years of independence.
Happy birthday, Kazakhstan. You get a brand new park for Taldykorgan.
Yeah, sure. And these parks have 4 zones. One is like for resting, second is like for activities, third one is playground, and the last one is like for performance.
So like this kind of place actually is for some kind of performances, right?
Yeah, sure.
I mean, it's perfect actually in any kind of weather. If it's raining, if it's like super hot outside in the summertime, I'm sure it's super comfortable underneath this tent.
Sure.
It seems to me that this was probably inspired by Khan Shatyr in Astana. Have you been there?
Yeah, of course.
I think any Kazakh who goes to this place, Khan Shatyr, it's a famous shopping mall in Astana that's the world's largest tent, is inspired. So I bet probably there was somebody in Taldykorgan who said, dang it, I want to have my own Khan Shatyr.
Yeah, sure.
But it's a cool little structure that they have here in the park. And, you know, it's amazing that this is such a young city. I feel like everywhere we go, there's a new park, there's a new walkway. You don't know how much joy I get out of seeing this little Kazakh dude riding his skateboard on a skate park. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen a skate park in Kazakhstan before.
Yeah, sure. You know, I have never seen such kind of place in Almaty ever.
But it's just becoming popular, I think, yeah?
Yeah.
So skating is actually originally from California, where I'm from.
Really?
It's like invented in the 40s or 50s, something like that, because, you know, surfing is really big in California. And so people used to want to kind of, they would call it sidewalk surfing. Mm-hmm. So I don't think they ever had surfing in Kazakhstan, but now, but now you have sidewalk surfing. Whereas the Riverside Park with its Kazakh skate bros is on the eastern edge of town, most of Taldykorgan's new developments have cropped up to the west, where a whole new district has appeared in the last few years. Here, there is even more park space, and the whole neighborhood is built around young people.
This is our park. It was built like some years ago.
Okay.
The name of this park is Zhetysu.
Zhetysu.
Yeah. In translation, it's youth.
Because it's only for young people, so they don't let any of the old people in.
No.
There's like security guards outside the park, and they're like, "Show me your ID."
No, of course not.
But it's just a place for kind of young people to come and walk around.
Sure. Not for only young people, for everybody.
For everybody.
Yeah.
And what do they like to do here?
Just to, for come to rest a little bit, to
walk around.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have to say, I think that Kazakhs are like the world experts in gulyat, in just strolling. Yeah. So people just love to come to a park like this, walk around, sit on the benches, chat, eat sunflower seeds, eat ice cream.
Yeah.
I think it's a really cool way to live, that you just know how to kind of come, relax. You don't need a lot, but you have such a beautiful space like this.
Yeah, sure. You're right. Before in Kazakhstan we didn't have any place to do sports, but now we have our own sport complex, Zhetysu.
Cool.
Yeah.
So what kind of sports do they play there?
Everything, everything.
every kind of sport.
Yeah, every kind of sport.
Underwater wrestling?
No.
Okay, but in the future, maybe.
Maybe. Yeah. It
It's
opened in 2015, and it's the biggest sport complex in Zhetysu.
I'm sure you have something to be proud of there, actually. And I can see it's a cool building. It's kind of shaped like a big shangarak, right? Like it's the top of a yurt. So not only is this kind of a new, hip, contemporary part of Taldykorgan, but it's kind of got a piece of the past, too.
Sure.
And you've got a pretty impressive flag there, Kazakh flag up there as well.
Of course. The flag is exactly the biggest flag in Zhetysu. It's like 92 meters. Why 92? Because in 1992, the Kazakh flag was invented.
Impressive.
Yeah.
So I see that you guys in Taldykorgan, you go big or you go home. Right? You don't do anything small or, minimal. It's like biggest everything, newest everything. You guys are serious. That's cool.
Sure. This is our youth research center. It opened in 2016. And it is first of its kind in entire country.
Only in Taldykorgan?
Yeah.
You guys are cool.
Yeah. Because in Zhetysu, we have 500,000 young people.
In this entire province, there's 500,000 young people.
Yeah.
And so I guess you guys are wondering, what kind of future are they going to have? How are they going to keep busy?
Sure.
Right? How are they going to get an education?
Sure, of course.
So they have a whole place here just for the Zhetysu, for the youth.
Yeah.
And that's cool because, here I see that we have a whole park for the Zhetysu. There's a stadium for Zhetysu. Here you have a whole center for Zhetysu. So I have a suggestion. I think that this entire neighborhood should just be named Zhetysu.
And this is the place where any young people can come and find what they need. They have a lot of gym here.
Like where you can work out?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure, why not? They have an internet library.
Cool.
Free Wi-Fi. Recreation room. And if you're a tourist, you can easily come here.
I would for sure come here just to use the free Wi-Fi. Because sometimes, right, it's so hard just to find Wi-Fi.
Yeah, of course. And they will help you with everything. Everybody of them speaks English, so it will be easy for you.
This is so cool because, I think the one thing that's really cool about Kazakh people is that, they're the most helpful people in the world. And it somehow doesn't surprise me that you guys have made an entire building just for being helpful. not just being helpful for tourists, but being helpful for young people. Be careful, young tourists, to not get sucked into that Wi-Fi for too long. Taldykorgan actually has a lot of history to explore behind all these shiny new buildings, and the folks at the youth center can point you the right way. Miraz took me to the oldest park in the city, which had a climbable yurt and a modest monument nearly a century old.
Okay, man. Here was a restaurant like 10 or 15 years ago.
Was it like the coolest place in town? Did you used to bring your dates here?
Yeah. When I was a child.
Okay.
This is our Central Park, the oldest park in Zolty Kurgan.
It's like New York.
Yeah.
In the center of the city?
Yeah, the Central Park, like in New York, but without the lake. So here we have a lot of attractions.
It's kind of cool. It's like you have, I see there's a Ferris wheel, there's all these sorts of rides around here. It's kind of like an amusement park and a park mixed together.
Yeah,
like we don't have things like this in America where you can come and you can go on the rides. I can see like when you were a kid, this is probably your favorite place, right?
Yeah, sure.
There are so many things to do here. And I just noticed that actually this whole structure here is almost like a big yurt. Like it kind of comes here together in the middle. That's the Shangarak, the crown of the yurt. And you come up here and you have a big viewing yurt over the entire park.
Yeah, man. Definitely.
I can see it's kind of a classic place.
Now I'm gonna take you the oldest monument in Zolty Kurgan.
The oldest monument in the entire city.
Yeah.
Is this kind of modest little obelisk over here. It would be hard to notice, actually, if you were just walking through the park, but this is it. This is the oldest thing.
Yeah, sure. Okay, this monument is like for Karp Maestruk,
okay,
who came from Ukraine.
I was going to say Karp Maestruk does not sound like a normal Kazakh name, right?
Yeah, sure. He came to Zolty Kurgan when Zolty Kurgan was already like Gavrilovka.
Way back in the 19th century.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
He was a commander of Red Army. He fought in the Russian Civil War. And after that, he sent to Khiva, Uzbekistan,
right,
and actually died there.
Okay.
But after that, his fellow soldiers, friends, took his body again here.
Well, I can see why they made this kind of monument to him, because he fought to defend Zolty Kurgan, you know, from during the Civil War, and his loved ones must have been sad that he died so far away in the desert in the middle of Uzbekistan, but he had good friends, I think, to bring him back here to make this monument to him. And it said he was buried in 1921. That's almost 100 years ago.
Yeah.
And even today, people in Zolty Kurgan can come here to this little corner of the park, can learn about this history.
Yeah. We have a museum, history museum in our city, which has the history of all Almaty province.
You know, you're lucky, because I don't think you've ever met anybody who loves museums more than me. I'm a museum dork, and so this is actually about all of Almaty, not just Zolty Kurgan.
Sure, that's great. That's
awesome.
Great. So our museum named after Muhammad Tunshbayev. He was a scholar from Lepsinsk, which is near to Zolty Kurgan.
Okay.
So the fact that the museum has more than 30,000 exhibits.
You know, I'm not at all surprised, actually, that there's like 30,000 exhibits here, because in these kind of regional museums in Kazakhstan, it's like every kind of museum in one. You know, it's not just one museum. It's like here we have a whole museum of paleontology. They have a geology section. They have a section about nature, about everything. And so, you know, maybe you don't like paleontology, but you like rocks. So, you know, you can come and you can like look at these beautiful minerals that they have on display. And it's really like something for everybody. You know, coming to Zolty Kurgan nowadays, it's really hard to kind of understand what traditional nomadic life was like. I mean, you never lived in a yurt, right?
Sure.
You've lived in kind of modern conditions your whole life. You get to go shopping, wear nice sweaters. Back in the day, imagine, you know, you could have worn something like this. What do you think? Is it your style?
No, sure no.
No? I think we should bring it back. I mean, look at that beautiful fox fur, right? So you get to see a little bit of kind of like older Kazakh fashion. You get to see what it was like inside of a Kazakh home. Like, check out this kind of sofa that they got to relax on. And they always have these kind of really cool displays of what a Kazakh kitchen would have been like. Imagine you could sit down here, drink some kumuz out of here. Here, you want some kumuz? Yeah. Please. And man, this is epic right here. So this whole plate, I guess, for serving meat, beshparmak, but the amount of artistry that goes into this. Look, there's this crazy sheep head on top of that. Are you a fan of sheep head? Khoibasa?
Of course, man. Every Kazakh is a fan of sheep head.
Do you eat every piece?
Yeah, of course.
The brains?
Of course, man. The best.
And imagine it's even tastier, I think, if they serve it on a plate like that, right? So you can look at how Kazakhs used to live in the past, right? Like 100 years ago, 150 years ago. But what's always really crazy to me is just how quickly their lives changed, right? With the coming of the Soviet Union. So then you like jump forward in time, and all of a sudden you're not in a yurt anymore, but you have old radios and televisions. Check out this thing. This is amazing. An old kind of a cathode ray television from back in the day. This is from the 1960s. So, 50 years before that, people could very well have been eating sheep heads in a yurt. I mean, living quite comfortably, but a totally different way of life. And then they brought such progress in technology. I mean, and now every Kazakh has a TV at home, right?
Yeah.
Can't live without TV.
Of course.
At the same time, I think this period in the Soviet times was very rich culturally, right? There were so many brilliant composers and artists and writers. You guys, I know, in Tadzjikistan are really proud of Tulubayev.
Yeah, Mukhan Tulubayev.
Mukhan Tulubayev. Yeah. And check it out, they've got his piano here. They have some of his books and photographs from his life.
Sure.
So are you a fan of Tulubayev's music?
I think everybody is a fan of.
I mean, all around Kazakhstan, right? He's like a huge name.
Yeah.
You guys have a lot of famous people from here, actually, right? Yeah. You have like cosmonauts, composers. Maybe you could be next, Miras.
Yeah.
The next great Tadzjikistan. Why not?
Okay, Dennis, in Tadzjikistan we have one more famous person. His name is Jibek. He was a famous Kazakh poet. And here is his museum, which is really very close to the museum of Muhammad Janzanshpayev.
Yeah, actually, I remember this building because the first time I came to Tadzjikistan, you and me, we were looking for the oldest building in the city. Yeah. And I'm pretty sure this is what we found, right?
Yeah, sure. And, this building actually was built in 1907. And it used to be merchant house.
Okay, so like a rich trader used to live here. Did John Sugura live here too?
No, but there is a lot of information about him, and we can see.
Okay, yeah, I don't know that much about him, so let's go check it out. Thank you, sir. So this must be Mr. Jansugurov.
Yeah, you're right, man. This is Ilyas Jansugurov, one of the most famous poets in Kazakhstan. He's from Zhetysu, from Aksu, which is close to Tadzjikistan. He was one of the three most famous writers in Kazakhstan. Mm-hmm. They call Ushbayterek.
Ushbayterek, that's like the three poplars.
Yeah.
Three giant trees. I mean, the three giants of Kazakh poetry, I guess, yeah?
Yeah.
So it was him.
Saken Sifulin.
Okay.
Beimbet Mailin.
So all three of them were from Tadzjikistan?
No, only Ilyas Jansugurov, but they all burned and died in 1 year.
Well, so their lives were very closely connected.
Yeah,
interesting.
Sure.
Okay.
So he was the first president of Union of Writers in Kazakhstan.
So he was a pioneering writer, actually.
Yeah.
One of the first. Okay.
Sure. And after he tragically died when Stalin repressed him. And in this museum we have a lot of information that we can see about. So, do you know the most famous poem of Ilyas Jansugurov?
I love Kazakh poetry, but I'm ashamed to say I don't really know that much about it.
It is Kulager.
Okay.
Kulager, the poem about Akan Seri's life. Do you know who is?
I do know Akan Seri. So he was a poet, right? And a Dombra player?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Right. So the poem was about his life and about his favorite horse and how his enemies killed his horse.
So the horse was Kulager.
Yeah. And also we have a song from Akan Seri The name of this song is also Kulager.
So this is like probably the most famous horse ever in Kazakh culture.
Of course,
right?
Every Kazakh person knows about this poem.
So I mean, but it's a tragic story because every Kazakh loves horses, right? And I imagine that because he lost his horse, I mean, it was a sad thing. I can imagine. I mean, it's interesting because there's American versions of this story basically where somebody loses their favorite dog.
Yeah.
And I think the Kazakh version of this is to lose the horse.
Yeah.
But even what I've noticed is that in Kazakh poetry, even when it's a tragedy, it's beautiful, right? So the way that Kazakhs write about their horses, write about their animals, write about loss, it's always really longing. And so probably that's why it became popular, right? Is that everybody can really understand it.
Yeah, you're just
Wow, this is beautiful. So we have this old kolbuz, and it's kind of in this amazing kind of case here, shaped like a kolbuz inside of a kolbuz.
Yeah.
But what does it have to do? Ilya Shamsugurov was a musician?
No. Actually, this kolbuz is Molokpai Atas kolbuz. Do you know who he is? He was a healer and musician.
Right, I mean, because kolbuz used to be played by shamans, right? So they would play it, and the music would help heal people. Yeah, that's really cool.
You're right, man.
Yeah.
You're right. And this kolbuz is like 200 years old.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, sure, man. And the fact that the Molokpai gave to Ilya Shamsugurov his name.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
So he actually made a big influence, I think, in his life, yeah? Because he gave him his name. And it's really cool that they have this instrument here because, you know, you see a lot of museums in Kazakhstan that have kolbuz, but not everyone is 200 years old. And you can really kind of feel the energy around this thing. This is a real kind of relic.
Of course.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I know her, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
She's Fatima Khabitova.
She's super famous, actually.
Yeah.
And I just realized where I heard this name Shamsugurov before, because my friend Asya's great-grandfather is Ilya Shamsugurov.
Really?
And her great-granddaughter was, her great-grandmother was Fatima Khabitova.
Really?
Yeah, and she was telling me that this woman must have been really something special because she was the muse and wife of 3 famous Kazakh writers.
Yeah, you're
right. So Jean Sugurov, Mukhtar Awezov, and Bilyao Silieva.
Yeah.
And I mean, can you imagine? It's like if one woman had the special relationship with like Shakespeare, Dickens, and Byron, you would be like, wow, like she must be pretty inspiring. She must have some kind of special power, right, to have such an influence over these really genius writers of their age.
And here is the documents about his death. In 1934, he became a president of Union of Writers. And in 1937, some leaders of the Soviet Union thought that he was a nationalist. And he spoke out against them. And in 1937, they took him to prison and killed him next year, in 26th of February. Here is his last photography and the document that it happened.
Wow. And this happens to a lot of talented writers back then, right? So the other 2, Seyfulin, right, and Mylin, and happened to them as well. And I mean, it's crazy. There was this whole generation of these talented Kazakh writers who lost their lives for nothing during what they call the Great Purges, Stalin's purges in the late 30s. And what's important, I think, though, is that they've brought his memory back to life, right? So they've rehabilitated him. Now everybody in Kazakhstan reads his work.
So one more fact about his death. Do you remember his poem?
Kulagir.
Yeah. When the leaders of Soviet Union killed him, they destroyed all that copies. And only Sapargali Bigalin was a famous writer.
Right.
He saw one of that copy of poem in his pillow. And only when they rehabilitated, he gave that copy to his wife and he published it again. So his memory came back.
That's crazy. So if it wasn't for him, then actually nobody would have ever read that poem again.
Yeah.
And nowadays this is considered a national treasure. So that guy's pretty smart, actually, to think of that. But a dangerous thing to do, too, because if this guy was considered like an enemy of the people, and for him to put that inside of his pillow, it's very brave. But I think, you know, the history of the Soviet Union is full of brave people like that, who took some risk in order to keep the memories alive. And here we are in his museum today, still learning about him. After a long day of park crawling and museum hopping, Miras and I met up with a local guide, Rasima Shalasheva, to explore a popular sunset spot, a craggy hillside on the edge of Toldi Kurgan that's known as Krasny Kamen, or Red Rock. In the fading light of dusk, we learned that this place isn't just known for its beauty, but for the ancient history that only guides like Rasima can reveal.
Before us we see a stone box, and actually you can see there is more than one. These are so-called Scythian burials, and they are very ancient. A dead person was placed in a fetal position with their head pointed to the west. They also put pottery and clay vases inside, and it's even said that they found some grain porridge. Later I can show you a millstone. And there is also a stone where they put grain for meals in the afterlife. If a person had something valuable, they would include that too. Of course, some burial sites were robbed by ancient people. It's very interesting, but the burial sites are really sacred. It's not just soil. Here we have a millstone. You can see that the stone wasn't natural like this, but it was made by people. Yeah, they put in grain here, then maybe they took a special pestle and ground it like that. It has a special angle, so they could take out the flour.
Обратите внимание, вот еще смотрите сцена охоты, да, какой красивый у нас вот архар, наверное, это, да, вот лучник, и вот еще, да.
Have a look here and you'll see the scene of a hunt. Here's an Argali sheep probably, and this is an aker. It shows that there were a lot of animals here. But archaeologists suggest that this may be some kind of Buddhist lettering. We can only guess, but some information suggests that the Buddhism was present here before the arrival of Islam.
Буддизм, да, то есть религия ислам не сразу пришла, и христианство, то есть здесь, возможно, буддизм тоже распространялся. Если отсюда посмотреть...
From this spot you can see a kind of panorama.
Такая красивая панорама из наскальных изображений.
I wanted to show you these pictures. As you can see, all the pictures here show animals that lived in Zhetysu, like mountain goats and deer. Look at this beautiful horse, and here we see a hunting scene, of course. We are a hunter with an arrow. One thing you'll never find here are images of cattle. Maybe some images of family life. Ancient people thought that all these things were very important. It was very important for them to depict hunting scenes, and they tried to save them. Later people started to come here to make prayers. It is a very important place.
Помолиться, да, богам, солнцу. То есть, это как бы такое место очень важное.
Это очень сакральное место, да, и красивое место. Ну, спасибо большое, что вы нас сюда привезли. Thank you, Miras, for taking us here. I mean, I can't imagine a more beautiful place to finish our Toldi Kurgan adventure than here at these red rocks with these ancient petroglyphs. The crazy thing is that we're the only ones here. We have this whole place to ourselves. This just beautiful, beautiful view over the valley, over the city of Toldi Kurgan. And we've seen so much on our adventure, from the new city all the way back here to the ancient past. I hope that you've enjoyed coming along on our discoveries today. Until next time, Salbo, Baka, and goodbye.